In preparation for making Soupy, Steve here is washing the natural casings. He's actually turning them inside out by feeding it in on itself. It slips right down through the middle because you have to have it inside out. It'll slip through pretty easily. See, now you can see the fat tissue that otherwise would be on the inside. You want it outside. That's how it's supposed to look. We're making Soupy, actually known as soppressata in Italy. It's January 13th, a few years ago. And the boys are here in the cellar of the Italo-American Club. The temperature is about 45 to 50 degrees, which is okay for making Soupy. You want it cold. Our boys are cutting up the pork meat so it fits into the grinder. The package of meat here is called a cushion. That's what you ask the butcher for. Tell him you want about 60 pounds of meat if you want to make about 60 Soupies. We usually make 2 cases at a time, or 120 pounds. That bucket of stindines there is what Stevie already prepared. They'll have to be measured and cut. And here he's getting ready to mix all the seasonings. So each spice will have to be, carefully measured. Here's the old scale we use. And the new electric grinder, we used to use a hand crank one. And those pieces that were prepared before to fit into the grinder nicely are being fed in now. My brother-in-law is explaining to my father-in-law his conversation with the butcher about the seasonings. I'm not sure Dave agrees. Anyway, he's shaking the container there of all the seasonings to mix them up thoroughly. This pile of fat was cut off the cushions. There's about 1 pound of fat in the 60 pounds of meat. You can actually leave it on the meat. Once the meat is ground and mixed, you won't even see it. We like our Soupy a little lean though. And here, Stevie's pouring about half the bag of seasonings on the pile. The other half will go in another 60 pounds that they'll mix later. And they like to have 4 of them mixing it from each side. You want to push it all in there together, mix it up thoroughly. These are our sons, the collective cousins. Here they go. Lifting it up, pushing it into the middle. They'll do this for about 8 minutes. You'll know that you've mixed it thoroughly when there's a consistent maroon color throughout. Here's the best part of the process: making patties for the taste test. They're going to have their discussion about whether it's hotter this year than last year and so forth and so on. All part of the fun. Somebody always brings a couple loaves of Italian bread to put the cooked patties on. Stevie was pushing the meat all around that spline there that he's fitting into the the machine. You want that meat already pre-packed around the spline so that as you fill the casings, you have much less chance of any big pockets of air down in the middle. And you use the needle to poke any little air bubbles. You want to try to make sure that there's no chance of any air being inside. So you pack them nice and tight, nice and full, and poke out any little air bubbles with that needle. See, you can see the fat on the outside of that stendine, which is naturally occurring on the inside of it. That's why we turned it inside out. Now we're going to tie the end. So you tie the end with another piece of string by putting it under the Soupy about 2 to 3 inches from the end, and then you tie a knot, a square knot, good and tight. Take that little extra piece of meat and put it back in the pile. Trim off the string. You leave one end nice and long on the string. Another view of the tying. Get that nice and tight. Tie a square knot. Pull the extra meat out of the end of the casing. And then you can trim the excess casing. And each one gets wiped down. I try to dry it off so it's not wet. We're going to carry it over to the Soupy cellar in this box. And here we are. This is my father-in-law's cellar where the Soupy will be hung. Make sure they don't touch each other. And for more detailed information on making Soupy and our delicious recipe handed down through the generations, go to our website, soupymaking.com. SOUPIEMAKING.com. soupymaking.com.